Let's get some broader analysis of this story. Gérard Vespierre is a specialist in Africa and geopolitics. He joins us now live. Good evening to you, sir. Different countries here sharing the same resource, the water, but with different aims and needs. Do you think a working compromise can be found between these three countries?
Yeah, you're pretty much right. There are two different objectives for those group of countries. First of all, Sudan and Egypt are requiring that water for their agricultural needs and supply fresh water for the population, while Ethiopia is looking for its industrial development. That dam is supposed to produce 6,000 megawatts of electricity for Ethiopia. This is the equivalent of 10% of the production of nuclear electricity in France. That only dam will produce 10% of the nuclear electricity from France. So that's huge amount. And the second problem is the filling of the reservoir behind the dam. That reservoir is huge volume, 72 billion cubic meters. And the problem is at what pace, at what rhythm that filling has to be taking place.
And if a compromise can't be found between these neighbours, do you think the situation could escalate further?
Well, I don't think so. First of all, because that project has been running now for nearly 10 years. So if the problem should have been coming at before and with military action, for example, this should have been taking place at the early stage of the project. Now the project is nearly over. The filling of the reservoir is starting in the wet season, and the wet season in that area is starting in June till September. So July is just at the very beginning. And that's the reason why the filling of the reservoir is taking place now. And the second point is that Ethiopia has been offering the possibility to start the filling 25% of the total volume within 2 years. But that volume is between probably 10 and 15% of the water flow from the Nile in Ethiopia. And this will have an impact on both Sudan and Egypt. So the pace at which the reservoir will be filled is key in that discussion.
There seems to be advantages clearly for Ethiopia in this, but nothing but disadvantages for Egypt and Sudan.
As we said before, the objectives are different, and for Sudan and Egypt is to have fresh water for the population and supply for the agriculture. And secondly, for Ethiopia is industrialization. The problem is arising for that filling of the reservoir. When the reservoir over the next few years will be filled, then the output of the dam will cause no problem, because there will be a balance between what is taken and what is given. The problem is just now when that reservoir is filled.
Gérard Vespierre, specialist on geopolitics and especially on Africa. Thank you, sir, very much indeed for giving us more context on what is a very, very controversial subject between Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt.
Thank you to you.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you.